Hello everyone, my name is RWBY, and here are my spoiler-free first impressions of RWBY Ice Queendom's first 3 episodes. This video is not to review the anime as much as it is just to give you all of the news and information on what the anime functionally is, what it actually is, because it's always best to go into things with the right expectations, and I've noticed a lot of people have gotten the wrong impressions about the anime as well. As of right now, the first 3 episodes are available for free online. I have links in the description to where you can find them on YouTube, as well as on the Crunchyroll Premium and Rooster Teeth First subscription services if those are more your thing. And by the way, only the sub is currently available. The dub is delayed and we don't quite know how long for. This video is being made in advance, as while the first 3 episodes were made public on June 24th, the 4th episode will air starting in mid-July. This video will help you better understand what the anime is in terms of structure and style, as well as the direction it looks like it will take in the future, at least as far as I can tell by watching only the first 3 episodes. But of course, as this is spoiler-free, I will talk as broadly and vaguely as possible. Aside from one video of the crew talking about their experience working on the anime, I will only be showing footage from the original reveal trailer, and other promotional material from before the anime's actual debut. And by the way, the anime's second trailer has major story spoilers in it. If you are looking to watch the anime completely blind, I'd suggest avoiding it. I will start by talking about how Ice Queendom treats and adapts the canon content of the main show into the anime, and then I will shift to where I think the anime will go in the future. So, first and foremost, what is the format of Ice Queendom? RWBY Ice Queendom is a Japanese anime based on the RWBY IP. There are 12 episodes, and 3 have been released so far. For the first couple of episodes, the anime recaps the events of the early Beacon era of the main RWBY show, up until a certain turning point where a new anime-specific conflict emerges. The anime is its own separate thing. I don't want to get too deep into discussions about canonicity, but the basic premise is that this is a limited series that tells its own story in the span of 12 episodes. It is made for itself, and it is self-contained. As far as the production goes, Rooster Teeth gave Japan quite a lot of creative freedom to make an anime of their own set in the RWBY universe, and that's what Ice Queendom is. It actually started off as its own kind of more original story that didn't have a time place in the narrative, and then it was put into the Beacon arc from there. It has been in production for at least 4 or 5 years going back to early concepts, with 2 years of being in production in earnest. And Rooster Teeth has worked with the Japanese team on that production for at least the anime's character design phase as well as the story concept. Here are brand director Christine Brent, showrunner Carrie Shawcross, and writing supervisor Eddie Rivas talking about what it's been like working with the Japanese team.
We had months of character design before we even started the animatics, going back and forth with the Japan team about all the nuances, like how Jean's jeans need to be a little bit baggy and a little torn up because he doesn't really have it together, you know, and how each of their personalities tie into not only their original character design, but also their Ice Queendom character designs that everybody's seen and freaking out about, which it's kind of crazy. They love RWBY, and the passion really comes out in the product.
It really does, and it's an honor for them to, you know, not just, you know, get the name of the show and then just go do like their own thing with it. I mean, like, they're really honoring and respecting what we've done, and it's really appreciated, and I think it just makes it that much better.
We would do a lot of sessions where we would kind of just download to them, like, here's how all this works, here's kind of the limitations of these things, here's where we get a little bit wiggly with it, right, where we can kind of like mess with some stuff and have some fun, and then they pitched this whole setup for, you know, won't talk too much about it for people that haven't seen it yet.
Go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. But yeah, seeing that the first time that they did that, it was like, this is bananas, but like in the best way, and yeah, it's super exciting.
In a basic sense, the American team let the Japanese team make their own story, but they were also very careful about whether or not that story would fit into the world of Remnant. So this is very much a Japanese take on a RWBY story. If you are a fan of some of the anime that the names I'm showing on screen have worked on in the past, I think there could really be something in Ice Queendom for you. Second, do you need to watch the main RWBY series to understand Ice Queendom? And to me, the answer is no, not necessarily. The anime starts from the very beginning and doesn't assume you know the world or the characters, but people who do know them will be able to appreciate certain things more. If you haven't watched RWBY before, there will still be enough for you in Ice Queendom. However, there are certain elements that do somewhat worry me for newer viewers. Based on episodes 1 to 3, I'm not entirely sure yet, I don't know if we can really say this yet, but with the way the anime is both its own original story and a somewhat retelling of the Beacon story, right, because it takes place during Beacon, that might lead to confusion for newer viewers, right? How do you tell the difference between, like, what is the recap and what is the new story, and how well do the two actually mesh together? I could definitely see some people maybe being confused, but because only 3 episodes have been released so far, it is still too early to say that for sure, depending on how things go in the future. Next, I just want to reinforce that the Japanese team is telling their own self-contained story that is set during the Beacon arc, so don't go into it expecting to see every last little thing that you like about the Beacon era replicated once 1 in 2D animation. A lot of it is, but as the Japanese team copies and pastes the dialogue from plenty of the Beacon scenes and reuses a ton of camera angles from those scenes too, they're also telling their own story that just happens to be set during Beacon. The anime restructures some things, cuts a lot of things, and adds entirely new scenes. And yet, I still would call a lot of these changes minor because the Japanese team is doing it to recontextualize the events and the characters of the main show in ways that serve their new narrative. And to be quite frank, a lot of the changes greatly improve some of the characters. So as much as I said earlier that these changes might actually weaken some elements of the anime or make things confusing, that cuts both ways. It does strengthen them too. Now that's all I have to say about what to expect about the recap portion. For the rest of the video, I'm giving you what I think the anime's new story, the anime's anime-specific story, is trying to do. As far as what we've already seen from promotional material, RWBY Ice Queendom has new characters, new settings, and new Grimm. They announced that quite a while ago, and there are definitely spoilers out there for those given these first 3 episodes. Again, don't watch the second trailer that was released for this anime if you don't want to see those spoilers, and be mindful online as always. In general, the anime starts at the very beginning of RWBY, takes the characters as they were back then, and seems to be on a path toward an immensely character-focused story. From how I see it, the anime is really going to explore characters in some new and exciting ways. As much as fights and animation are a major appeal for the RWBY franchise, and I know that, I've always been a fan of its characters, and I see a lot of potential in this anime. The first 3 episodes of Ice Queendom have appeal from quite a few angles. Ice Queendom gives a lot of care to the Beacon arc, while also tweaking some things for the better and setting up its new story. After the 3rd episode, the basic premise for the new story is there, but there is still a lot to flesh out. And just to be clear again, this video is not intended to be a review for the anime. I'm giving you the measured expectations to have to watch the anime for what it functionally is. I'm also intentionally hesitating to say too much because only a quarter of the anime has been released. There's a lot that could change how we look at it from here on out. And lastly, I should note that Jeff and Casey Lee Williams are not involved in Ice Queendom in any way, which I know is a turnoff for some. And trust me, I would love for them to be involved in this too, but they've also kind of had a lot on their plate lately, and the vocal songs that Ice Queendom has do have an incredible flair to them. They work very well in the show. I have the 2 currently available songs on my channel if you want to check them out. Links are in the description. As a fan of the main RWBY series, I am very excited to see where Ice Queendom goes. But I know that there are those who don't watch the current show but love the Beacon era, or love traditional anime. After watching the first 3 episodes, I think Ice Queendom already has a lot to love whether or not you watch the main series. If you don't, I do encourage you to watch Ice Queendom. So, if you are interested in checking out RWBY Ice Queendom, again, there are links in the description to check out the first 3 episodes, totaling an hour and 6 minutes. Subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on news for both RWBY Ice Queendom and the main RWBY series. There is going to be a ton of news for both of them coming out of the Anime Expo and RTX conventions happening this coming weekend, the very start of July. And as always, I will see you next time. I'm Raijin Rising. Have a good one.